Hi there. Today we're going to be talking about brewing methods. It can be a little overbearing for those of us just getting into better coffee, so how do you choose the right one for you? Well, let's get into it. So first off, let's talk about drip brewing and immersion brewing. Drip brewing is the one most people are familiar with, and that includes home coffee pots, Keurigs, and pour-overs. In this video, we're going to focus on pour-overs because it gives you a greater level of control over the outcome of your coffee. In this context, drip means that you're letting gravity do the work for you. You pour hot water on top of the coffee grounds and it falls through them to create your coffee on the bottom. Drip methods, specifically pour-overs, highlight a complexity of flavors in your cup of coffee that immersion brewers usually don't. And the reason for this is that the coffee solubles, or dissolvable material in the coffee itself, dissolve at their own rate because of the water flowing through them rather than sitting with them. Now, immersion brewing is the process of adding hot water to your coffee and letting the two steep together just like tea for a desired amount of time until finally separating them to create your cup of coffee. This creates a highly extracted coffee, but higher doesn't always mean better. According to a perfectdailygrind.com article on the subject, in drip brewing, the constant flow of water actually yields a more efficiently extracted coffee. Drip coffee brewing offers more clarity and nuanced complexity in your coffee than most immersion brewers due to the different style of extraction. So let's say you wanted to get into drip brewing. Which of all the different various pour-over methods would you choose?
The V60 is a dripper created by Herio, which is widely beloved in the specialty coffee scene. It has a thin filter which allows for more oil from the coffee into the cup. It is said to bring forward lots of acidity and floral notes, which can be good for lighter roasts. The Chemex is a beautifully designed dripper and server all in one. It has a much thicker filter paper and therefore withholds much more oil from the cup, leaving a very clear and smooth coffee. The Kalita Wave is slightly different from the rest. Its filters are flat-bottomed instead of pointed, which provides more contact with the water and a reduced rate of flow. It is said to be easier to get a great cup from this method for this reason, and results in a sweeter coffee. The filters are thicker than the V60, but not quite as thick as Chemex filters.
With drip coffee, there's always room for human error, whether that's with grounds distribution, pouring rate, or improper filter preparation. Immersion brewing is much less fussy. The most important thing you need to worry about in immersion brewing is brew time. Immersion brews are much heavier and upfront with the coffee taste. They are less nuanced and complex than that of drip brews, but they are very easy to achieve very consistent results. Basically, all immersion brewers focus on steeping your coffee for a desired amount of time and then separating the grounds from the newly made liquid when the time is right. If you're careful with monitoring your brew time, you will most likely receive very consistent results. So if you're interested in immersion brewing, there are also many methods to choose from.
The French press is probably one of the most recognizable coffee gadgets. Some people swear by it, and some hate it. Ultimately, the French press can give you a great cup of coffee as long as you pour the coffee out of the press once the brew time is up and you've plunged the grounds. That way the coffee is not sitting with the grounds for longer than it should. It is easy to use, and some are quite nice looking. Mine is not. The Aeropress is probably the brewer with the most different techniques and methods for using it. The Aeropress creates a very concentrated brew by using immersion and then pressing the coffee out of contact with the grounds, much like the French press. However, the Aeropress is pressed through a thin paper filter, which rids the cup of any small bits that may end up there in other immersion brewers. This also adds a level of clarity to the cup that other methods may not provide. The Siphon looks like a chemistry set, and sort of functions like one too. Water is placed in the flask at the bottom, and the burner is placed underneath to heat it. The grounds container is placed into the top of the flask, creating a seal between the two. When the water in the flask boils, it rises into the grounds container on top, where you add your ground coffee. After letting it steep, you remove the heat from the flask, and then the coffee will begin to fall into it, through the cloth filter, leaving the ground coffee at the top. This results in a clear cup, but not as clear as a paper filter from an Aeropress or a pour-over. The cloth allows some oils to get through, but not all, giving you a medium to heavy body, but slightly complex experience. The Herio Switch is a brewer much like a V60. Because it is. Well, kind of. I couldn't get my hands on one, but it's basically a V60 with a ball bearing at the bottom, which holds the coffee in the brewer for you for your desired immersion time. Then when your brew time is up, you press the button and the ball bearing is moved to the side, allowing your coffee to drip down into your cup. This also allows you to add your water pouring techniques in the beginning of your brew for added control.
There are a lot of brew methods to choose from, and which one you choose to go with all depends on how you want your coffee to taste and feel. If you like bold, more heavy coffees, then go with an immersion brewer. And if you like complex and nuanced coffees, go with a dripper. Personally, my go-to is a V60, but that can change depending on what kind of coffee I'm having. Different coffees can favor different brewing methods, as each one can bring out different desirable flavors. The best way to find out which brewing method is for you is to do a little bit of research and experiment. It's all part of the fun. Let me know what kind of brewing method you're using for your coffee right now. I'd love to talk about it. But for now, thanks for watching and happy brewing.